25 grams, Nick, no. Addiction is sad and hard. You don't understand how much of your brain is wired to think a certain way. Like if somebody has problems with addiction or mental illness, you can't even get yourself in the state of mind that they're in. You really can't, you just have no idea. Yeah, it's a rough road to go down.
Count one is second degree possession, 25 grams or more of cocaine or methamphetamine. The maximum sentence for that count is 25 years in prison.
These two things are one and the same, and they go together. I think it's important to keep that in mind. So when you talk about like, can addiction control you? Like addiction is you. You are, that is part of who you are. Man, these guys are really, they are funny. They seem cool, but they're very much like into the conservative. 25 grams, Nick, no. 25 grams. And a firearm? Does that mean that he's like gonna lose his right to own a firearm like forever? Because is it automatically assumed if you get caught with drugs and a gun that you lied on your 4473? Or how does that, I don't know what the, I probably should know.
Presenting yourself at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Count one is second degree possession, 25 grams or more of cocaine or...
I wonder what he thought of Hunter Biden. It wouldn't surprise me if Nick came down on Hunter for like Burisma shit because of the Trump bullshit. It also wouldn't surprise me if he didn't say anything on it. I would be really surprised if he came down on Hunter for drugs though. Does Nick, I don't know if I've ever heard Nick like police like drugs like that. That seems like it would be wild.
Methamphetamine.
He did? No way. He was critical of Hunter Biden for drugs? No shot. That would be wild. People keep saying or more. It's not like it means 5,000 grams. There's probably like ranges that you can get caught with. It's probably around 25 or like 25 to 50 or something, would be my guess. Is he going to lose his kids? The danger to a child thing is that's a misdemeanor. I don't know if you lose your kids automatically for that. There'd probably have to be some kind of something more, but is he the lawyer Destiny talked to Trump about? Or talked about to Trump? No, talked to Trump. Talked about Trump too. Jesus. He's the one that I argued with about the state's plenary authority relating to the 14th Amendment, Section 3 shit. And I think we've talked one time before. I super disagree with all of this stuff politically, but like addiction and everything is sad. Addiction is sad and hard. Oh man, dude. For mental illness and for addiction, gatekeeping is like really lame. I don't like to gatekeep anything, but for addiction and mental illness stuff, like you don't understand how much of your brain is wired to think a certain way. Like if somebody has problems with addiction or mental illness, you can't even get yourself in the state of mind that they're in. You can LARP or try. You can't, but you really can't. You really can't. You just have no idea. Yeah, it's a rough road to go down. And I mean, I can't imagine dealing with addiction as a streamer has also got to be insane because you have way too much money. You're at home all fucking day. You're not interacting or engaging with real people. You've got crazy people on the internet. Like I feel like it's a horrible environment to be in if you have addiction issues. It's just, yeah, Jesus. He has 5 kids that live in 5?
Presenting your...
It's weird how normalized so many physically addictive substances like alcohol, tobacco, caffeine, and refined sugar. Well, I would say alcohol is pretty unique there. I would say alcohol is pretty uniquely bad. I think different arguments can be made for nicotine, especially like cigarettes and stuff. Alcohol can be a really scary substance. And the fact that it's so normalized and people don't think of it that way. Like if I talk to people about doing LSD, if I go into a room of normies and I talk about doing LSD, my guess would be that I would say 9 out of 10 people would look at me like I'm talking about a really hard drug. I think that's a fair estimate. I think 9 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10, but I would say closer to 10 out of 10. I'd say 9 out of 10 people would look at me like, acid, LSD, that's insane, bro. You're like a hardcore drug user. If I were to talk about LSD, but when it comes to alcohol, 1 out of 10 maybe would look at me like, ooh, that's spooky, or 0 out of 10, which is so inverted on the risks and everything. Yeah, like Jesus, yeah. And it's like, it's like you can die from ODing on alcohol, and you can literally drink yourself to death immediately through alcohol poisoning. You can drink yourself to death over the long term through liver damage, right? Sclerosis of the liver or whatever. You can destroy your mind. I think if you're addicted enough to alcohol, I think you can die from withdrawal. Your body, you will die. Not like when you're trying to get off like opiates, like heroin. Like, oh, you'll die. No, you won't. It'll just suck a lot. Like for alcohol, if you stop, you can die. You will just die. Yeah, it's just like, geez. And it's available everywhere. And it's like part of our social phenomenon. On weekends, you go out, people are drinking. It's impossible to get away from socially. Like it's a lot. It's a lot.
Presenting yourself at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Count one is second degree possession, 25 grams or more of cocaine or methamphetamine. This is in violation of Minnesota Statute 152.022, subdivision 2, prin A, prin 1.
Ding dong is
the
not
maximum sentence for that count is 25 years in prison and or a $500,000 fine.
Holy shit.
Count 2 is possession of ammunition or any firearm with the user of controlled substances. This is a gross misdemeanor, so the maximum sentence is 364 days in the Candioi County Jail and or a $3,000 fine. Count 3, endangerment of a child when present with a sale or possession of a controlled substance.
Oh, he's
a gross misdemeanor. Maximum sentence.
Do all your coke out, Nick, and kill yourself, you stupid motherfucker.
Jesus.
Someone has.
I'm going to warn everyone again. This is a court proceeding. If you were in a courtroom with me, it would remove you. So,
I'm curious if it was cocaine or methamphetamine because 25 grams of coke is wild, but 25 grams of meth is real loud. My guess was it's got to be cocaine, right? What the fuck are you doing with 25 grams of meth? Isn't that like a lifetime supply? Not really, but like that would be an ungodly amount of methamphetamine. It's got to be cocaine.
I can't stop the Zoom bombers.
Any violation of that will be removed. Ms. Block?
Judge, I just disabled people the ability to unmute themselves, so I will work to unmute people as
the clerk
they need to
did
speak
it.
to
The clerk is a hero.
All right, thank you. Aside from Mr. Rekieta and Mr. Kornahachi, no one needs to at this point. Lastly, I think I was saying that the count 3 gross misdemeanor has a maximum sentence of 364 days and or a $3,000 fine.
It's not that much meth. You plow through that as a heavy user. What does a heavy user mean? If you're eating meth, isn't 40 to 50 grams considered like no, not 40 to 50 grams. Isn't 40 to 50 milligrams considered like a pretty heavy dose? And that's going to last you a full day, right? Let me check. I guess if you're addicted, I don't know, maybe you're doing 50 plus. Isn't this high for methamphetamine? Isn't it isn't it 12 plus hours? Oh, this is total is 8 to 12 hours, up to 24 hours for irregular users. Oh, I guess you can double the time to do drugs though, because you're not sleeping ever, so. If you're doing 50 milligrams a day and you get busted with 30 grams would be 30,000 milligrams, right? If you did 50 a day, that's a 2-year supply. If you do 100 a day, that's still like about a year's supply. Sorry. If I created a world where presidential debates are conducted on computers so the citizens can analyze the candidates' research abilities, what kind of searches would you like to see them engage in? The number of sick burns and dunks. Aren't you technically doing a kind of meth for ADHD? Methamphetamine is, I don't know why, but that methyl group makes it go into the brain easier. For amphetamines, your body has to do a little bit more work to get it up there. It's kind of the same-ish drug, but methamphetamine crosses blood-brain barrier a lot easier. I don't know why, but there's a reason why it does. But they're kind of similar or not similar, they're identical in action. But when people think about methamphetamine, the problem is it's not the difference between methamphetamine and amphetamine is not important. It's usually we're talking about the differences in dosing. Nobody does 5 to 10 milligrams of methamphetamine. They're doing 30, 40, 50 plus. So it's a different. The dose is just massive.
Mr. Rekieta, you.
For the love of God, I'm about to have a panic attack here, mate. What is your favorite cheese? I don't have a favorite cheese. If it's got a fancy name, I'll probably like it. Hi, I am 2 years clean with the 12-step program. If you want to talk about it or the nature of addiction. Thanks, buddy. Also depends on if you shoot, snort, or smoke. Oh, yeah, that's true too, maybe, yeah.
$64 and/or $3,000 fine. Mr. Rekieta, you understand what you've been charged with, and second question, the maximum sentences associated with each count.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now,
Yeah,
I
Your
don't mean
Honor.
to insult your intelligence, given you are an attorney, but it's important that I know that you understand your rights here. First of all,
I wonder how ordinary it is for an attorney to represent themselves in like simple criminal matters. I feel like for simple criminal cases, it's probably not that difficult, the representation, right? So maybe there's not. I wonder how common that is. I have no idea. I don't know, Rekieta. I doubt he had a background in criminal law, right? I don't know how much of these YouTube lawyers practiced before they got into YouTube. I don't mean YouTube lawyer derisively, but for simple stuff, it's fine. Usually a plea out. Yeah, I understand that, Leons. I feel like misdemeanor possession charges and shit are probably easy. Is this a felony charge for 25 plus grams? Did they say here? Hold on. Maximum was like over a decade in prison, right? For the max.
presenting yourself at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He's representing
Count
himself,
one
as they
is
just said.
second degree possession, 25 grams or more of cocaine or methamphetamine. This is in violation of Minnesota statute 152.022, subdivision 2, print A, print 1.
Ding dong is
The
not me, in
maximum
case you're
sentence for that.
Minnesota, second degree possession, 25 grams. Possession of a controlled substance in the second degree. Oh, possession of a narcotic mixture with a total weight of 25 grams or more, 10 grams or more if a gun is possessed. Oh, so wait, could it have been 10 to 25? People are saying there's more information down here. Why is it second degree? I don't know what the difference between first or second degree for drug offenses are. Second degree sale or possession of a controlled substance is a felony drug charge. So this is a felony charge under Minnesota law. If you are a user or a seller, bro, what the fuck is that sentence? Are you serious right now? Hold on, you're gonna get a ban for this, but I need to show people first how ridiculous this sentence is. We're having higher standards of typing in these chats, okay? What is this? Ispt it oof, you're a user or seller. You're going for... Oh, wait, hold on. You're going for 2 days. Actually, you're gone for 1 day. F you. He requested to represent his wife and April. What the fuck, LeMayo? He also may be facing 26 years. That's max. He's probably not getting the max, maybe, right? Although the child present and everything, I wonder if that's like an aggravating factor. The child and the gun. Although the gun probably isn't being used in conjunction with the crime, right? It's just there, but you're probably not supposed to have a firearm and have drugs at the same time, I'm pretty sure. But that's a federal thing, right? I don't know if the states care about that. I have no idea, actually. Isn't it kind of strange that he thought the hunter should go to jail for drug addiction while buying a firearm? Just Brandon, wait, link me that. Did he actually ever say that? My client got a disorderly conduct for meth. He'll be fine. For that level of possession, Leon, with a child present? Doing cocaine with my kid is illegal? Listen, if the kid is not doing cocaine, okay. Who cares? Do you think addiction is something that inherently controls you? Okay. This is the only thing that I would ask you to consider when you're thinking about things like mental illness or addiction. This is the only thing I would say, okay? I'm not going to give you the answer to this because I don't have the answer. I don't know the answer. But one thing that we do is we have our brain, and extracted from our brain, we have like our essence, our souls, our spirits, something. We have something else here. And mentally, we separate out like our biology from our who we truly are inside. And I think this is a mistake. Your conscious, your soul, your spirit, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, okay, is an emergent phenomenon. It's something that comes out of the interaction of a bunch of smaller things that collectively we call your brain. That's what I think, okay? All of these little things together interact, and in all of their little interactions, from these interactions arise your conscious state, right? This emergent thing, okay? When you ask a question like, does addiction control you? Or can you ignore, or, can you fight your depression or whatever? I think that a fundamental, an ontological mistake is being made because you're assuming that there is this huge barrier between your conscious experience and who you are and the decisions and choices you make versus like this annoying brain thing that just gets in the way sometimes. These two things are one and the same, and they go together. I think it's important to keep that in mind. So when you talk about like, can addiction control you? Like, addiction is you. You are, that is part of who you are, right? Depression or BPD or addiction, this is part of who you are. So the question is like, can you adopt lifestyle choices or change the way that you live in your life or change your environment such that these facets of your character or personality, don't end up controlling you or don't end up being the overriding parts of your life? I think that's the question, rather than like seeing these things as fundamentally separate in nature and disconnected from your abstracted like conscious experience. I would say, yeah. Just like a thing I would say, yeah. How do you reconcile your hate for religion with your belief in a soul? I don't think I believe in a soul. Do you think you'd be less susceptible to addiction, considering that your life isn't a miserable hellscape? Isn't it just a function of your happiness? If I had to guess, I would guess that addiction is probably three things. One is going to be some biological predisposition. I think some people are just biologically more likely to get addicted to things. I think a second thing is going to be how good your life is going. This is a total bullshit thing I've made up that I've talked about before. There's absolutely no evidence for this whatsoever, just a feeling that I have. But when I do MDMA, or if I were to do like if I were to drink like hydrocodone or like inject like heroin or whatever, my experience is going to go like, if my experience is like, if I'm this happy normally, I'm going to go up to like this level of happiness. And it's going to be awesome, okay? It's going to be relaxed, it's going to be chill, it's going to be cool, whatever the fuck. For opiates, right? Yeah, so chill, so euphoric, so cool. And then when I'm not high anymore, I'm going to come back down to here, right? Temptation to re-up, temptation to revisit the high is strong, of course. But if your life kind of sucks, if you're down here and then you do a drug, you're getting to the same fucking high. Those people in like the alleyways that are shooting up, they've got the same amazing feelings that Jeff Bezos has shooting up, right? And when they are no longer high, they go all the way down to being here again. That sucks. So I think you've got biological predisposition. I think you've got, I think the biological predisposition one, I think that's borne out in data. Like, I think alcoholism is considered a hereditary thing. I believe. Let me look. Alcoholism, heritability, I believe. There was no evidence for heterogeneity by study design, sex, or assessment method. The best fit estimate of the heritability of AUD was 0.49, and the proportion of shared environmental variance was 0.10. Estimates of, what is considered a high heritability for, this is 0.49. I think that's decently high, though. Alcohol use disorder is approximately 50% heritable. Multiple genetically informative studies of this syndrome have produced consistent results that support the validity of this heritability estimate, especially given the different potential methodological weaknesses of twin and adoption studies. Okay. So heritability, how much your life normally sucks. And then also, this is something I'm a huge advocate for. I've talked about this a lot recently as well. When you do drugs should be a thing you do to have fun, not a thing to escape from problems. I think that if you ever do a drug to escape from a problem, I think that you can fall into that habit very quickly. And that's a very scary thing to do, yeah. I think there's also probably a fourth or fifth thing. Another thing, I don't even consider this much because I'm so busy. There's a saying that our moms used to tell us, which is, go outside, honey. I need a destiny. No, I'm just kidding. Devils are an idle's hands. Idle's hands are a devil's plaything or something. I think that if you're sitting around and you're not doing much, you don't have much going on, I think that it's also easier to fall into bad habits like that. If you're not like working on something, or you have like a hobby or even games you play or anything that's like gives you something to fill your time with, if you're sitting around with nothing to do a lot, drugs are also like, because drugs are always awesome. Even if you're bored with nothing to do, like you can do drugs and sit in your house all day and have an awesome time, you know? Yeah. One thing I never understood, why don't a lot more people OD intentionally if their life sucks so much? Well, because committing suicide is different than getting high. What do you mean?
Which she kept while she recovered from addiction, and which contained intimate information about her and her family. What the fuck is going on in the Biden family? Is it because of the naked showers that Uncle Joe is taking with all of the family members, that they're all on all sorts of fucking drugs all the time? The intimate information, I guess, is that she was showering naked with her dad. Gross. I know what I did was wrong and awful, and I apologize, Mr. Kurlander said in court. Ms. Harris said, I sincerely apologize for any actions and know what I did was illegal. This is their plea agreement. They were required to say those things.
Why do I care about this that much? I don't think I care. I don't even know what this is about. Okay. Don't care. Is this really divorce worthy?
Oh yeah, the cake.
Look out for the cake!
Immediate divorce. No, like how quickly I would divorce that man.
Wow, Eliminator, thanks for 5 subs.
Laughing here that someone yelled out, "Watch the cake," when they should have been telling him, "Watch out for your wife." My fiance, if you are watching this right now and we do
This is a rage bait video. Who cares? It could be horrible or it could be literally nothing. We need to see, like, the wife might not give a fuck, or the wife, like, she's rage baiting right now. How can a chemical possibly equal consciousness? It's a completely impossible connection. Why do you retards like you say shit like, how is it that a chemical? How is it different from chemicals if you have consciousness? Can you even imagine that? Oh, well, what's your explanation? Well, there is a fairy god in the sky, and he imbues in us a special thing that we can't measure or see or look at in any way, size, shape, or form, but the rest of the entire world is physical, and I have absolutely no evidence or proof for any of the things that I believe in, but I think that this is absolutely true because for some reason, like the one religion of the 750,000 other ones that I believe in is, like, as hard as that is to believe, whatever dumb shit you're pushing is a million times less likely, okay? Computers are made of chemicals, right? I'm screaming at you, unless I'm a crazy man in a room, okay? And like 8,000 other people across the fucking internet into a fucking microphone. That's all chemicals.
champagne toast during our cake cutting, or quite frankly, any part of the night.
1 million times less likely citation. Does anybody have that DGG post of the guy? Oh, it's not good, but it was so good. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Who knows what I'm talking about? It was a guy in the subreddit saying, like, as a black guy, I don't like it when Destiny says the N-word. And then some guy replies, and he's like, appeal to emotion, appeal to authority, appeal to norms. Somebody link it. God damn it. He did the meme in real life.
Toast during our cake cutting, or quite frankly, any part of the night. And you think that that would be a good idea to do to me on our wedding day? You should probably find yourself a new fiance.
Also, she has the right to think this too. Like, you might not be the person that fucks around like that. That's totally fine. But this is, who cares? I'm black, and I don't even use the word myself. I just don't think it's appropriate for a white person to use it gratuitously. It's also completely counterproductive. It doesn't widen his reach one bit, and it only alienates people on the left who are already skeptical of him in the larger space. I'm black and I don't even use the word myself. Appeal to authority. I just don't think it's appropriate for a white person to use it gratuitously. Appeal to tradition. It's also completely counterproductive. Non sequitur. It doesn't widen his reach one bit and only alienates people on the left who are already skeptical of him in the larger space. Hasty generalization. Debate pervertry in action. Ad hominem. You should know your husband already if you're marrying him. Well, you should probably never be marrying your husband. I don't get it. If it's your husband, why are you marrying him? You marry your fiance. It's like toasting toast. I'm sorry, that one insult Hassan used. What did he call me? Divorced all the time? Do you think he meant like because he's divorced twice, so he divorces all the relationships? Or do you think he meant like once you're divorced, now you're full-time divorced, like you're divorced all the time? That was such a funny fucking...
Yes, the secret documents case was fun while it lasted, but Judge Eileen Cannon has killed the prosecution of Donald Trump over the national security and classified...
This is for the Mar-a-Lago thing? Wait, what happened?
...documents that he allegedly took from the White House to Mar-a-Lago. It was a lot of little things, many of which were defensible on their own, but taken together, Judge Cannon has made sure that the prosecution before the election is impossible.
Oh,
Chaos lawyer...
Okay, that's a different thing. Prosecution before the election is different than killed it entirely, but... The judge is insane? I've heard that said a lot, but I haven't like dug into it, and I don't trust anything that I haven't dug into myself, but I have heard that stated a lot.
Explains how the dirty deed was done.
Thanks, Devin. When Donald Trump was indicted in June of 2023 for taking national security documents out of the White House and refusing to give them back, he asked Judge Eileen Cannon to set a trial date of never. The government responded that that is not a thing under the Speedy Trial Act.
Legal Eagle. 3.2
hey, Legal Eagles,
million subscribers. Been a YouTuber in the game for years. Channel polls a decent amount of views every month. He doesn't put in a lot of content, but look at this, okay? 34 million, 30 million, 50, okay. Why in the fuck am I getting panned audio in my right goddamn ear? How is this possible?
Documents out of the White House and refusing to give them back, he asked Judge Eileen Cannon to set a trial date of never. The government responded that that is not a thing under the Speedy Trial Act, which requires the court to set the case for trial on a day certain. And so the court duly did set a date of May 20th, 2024. But on May 7th of this year, Judge Cannon changed her mind and decreed that the finalization of a trial date at this juncture would be imprudent and inconsistent with the court's duty to fully and fairly consider the various pending pretrial motions before the court, critical classification issues, and additional pretrial and trial preparations necessary to present this case to a jury. Translation? There are just so many motions that haven't been ruled on yet that she has...
Have you kept up on the New York case? From what I hear, a lot of people say it's much stronger than they initially thought, and now that all the arguments are done, I haven't kept up on the arguments much, but it in retrospect, I think I maybe it was New York case. I treated you too harshly, my child. But I also might be overthinking that just because Trump's behavior has been so unbelievably fucking unhinged. Jesus.
No choice but to postpone the trial. Gosh. I wonder who created that backlog of motions by failing to rule in a timely fashion. It's a mystery. In reality, Judge Cannon has undermined this case from the beginning, both by taking forever to adjudicate every single motion and by treating every issue, no matter how mundane, as if it is complex and novel and requires multiple rounds of written briefing and oral argument. The result is a case which will go to trial in 2025, if ever. And on top of that, she's teed up a bunch of issues which could derail...
Trump is actually the accused kid from 12 Angry Men.
25, if ever. And on top of that, she's teed up a bunch of issues which could derail the case even further, particularly with respect to classified documents. This case isn't about classified documents per se, but the fact that Donald Trump walked out of the White House with hundreds of classified documents in his luggage is what kicked it off. For a full year after Trump left office.
Ooh, I just want to be ultra clear, okay? I really don't like what she just said there. I really don't like what she just said there. I'm sorry. Let me listen a little bit further before I give a big critique on that. One second.
About classified documents per se, but the fact that Donald Trump walked out of the White House with hundreds of classified documents in his luggage is what kicked it off. For a full year after Trump left office, the earnest civil servants at the National Archives cleared their throats politely about all the presidential records which had gone missing on January.
Okay, never mind. I'm glad I let her talk a little bit first. Okay. The big deal is not that he walked out. It kicked it off. That's okay. The big deal isn't that he walked out. It's that they gave him a lot of time, a lot of warning, and a lot of requests to figure out what's going on. And it's not that he just took a long time to respond. It's that he intentionally obstructed justice, which has to be intentional, and told his employee to hide documents, misrepresent to his other lawyer and his other employees what was there, and to obscure and shield stuff from NARA and eventually the FBI. Also, yes, her outfit lacks a lot of cultural meaning, definitely.
January 20th, 2021. Then, in January of 2022, Trump returned 15 boxes of government property, including a love letter from North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, Barack Obama's handwritten note to his successor, an Air Force One model plane, and a commemorative bollard from the border wall that Mexico was going to pay for.
And then we fell in love. Okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters.
But interspersed with those items were upwards of 100 documents bearing classified markings, including some which were designated as top secret or part of special access programs available on a need-to-know basis to a minimum number of cleared employees.
Now, to be clear, my understanding is that every single document that's classified is need to know. Even, what is it? Is it top secret? SCI, isn't every single thing, even what's the lowest classification market? Classified is the lowest one, right? Even classified is on need to know. Every single US thing is on need to know. Also, the biggest deal wasn't the level of classification, I believe, from the, like if it was TSSCI or whatever, top secret, something classified, special classified info. What does SCI stand for? Security, no. Sensitive compartmented information, SCI, TSSCI. The issue is that some of it was classified by, was it the Department of Energy? There is a particular agency within the executive where you actually do have to go through a process to declassify this, and possession of those things is illegal. I was going to say even if you're the president, which doesn't sound right because all clearance exists at the discretion of the president. But there's a special thing it's a big deal. It's a special deal. Actually, I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying this. Hold on, I took notes on this. It was for my debate prep. It was for Jones and Greenwald. It was the Donald Trump indictments. It was the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Does it list these on the bottom, or do we have to look these up? Wait. I'm just read these so you know the charges are. The charges aren't just like possessing classified information. That's what all the Trumbles want you to think. Okay. False statements and representations. That's count 42. Corruptly altering, destroying, mutilating, or concealing a document, record, or other object. Altering, destroying, mutilating, or concealing an object. False statements and representations. False statements and representations. Scheme to conceal. Concealing a document in a federal investigation. Corruptly concealing a document or record. Withholding a document or record. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. Date of offense. Okay. There are certain documents that, I don't know if it's concerning military capabilities of a foreign country. There's certain documents that like you have to go through, like there's an actual special process by which, I thought it was Department of Energy stuff, but it might be some other type thing. I want to find this. I'm sorry. I should have this. NDI is important, I think. National Defense something? Department of Energy / nuclear stuff. I'm 90% sure. Yeah, I thought it was listed in these indictments. I would just like to see it so I can read it. It was that he had national defense information. That information is classified via an act by Congress, meaning the executive branch can't just declassify it unilaterally. That would make sense. if that was it. Oh, willful retention of national defense information. The general allegation of the superseding indictment are re-alleged and fully incorporated here by reference, owner, blah, 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 okay. Having unauthorized possession of, access to, and control over documents relating to the national defense, did willfully retain the documents and fail to deliver them to the office and employee of the United States entitled to receive them. That is, Trump, without authorization, retained at the Mar-a-Lago documents relating to the national defense, including the following. I believe that for these, I don't think even a president, can just have these. You have to go through a process, maybe that might even have to be through Congress, or they might have created some agency you have to go through, but you can't just have these. None of the charges for Donald Trump that I'm aware of when I went through these, none of these are for just, none of these are just for like walking out with classified information. It's not what he's being charged with here. I don't even think he's being charged with retention of classified documents outside of the national defense information. I don't think he's even being charged with the other documents. I think it's mainly obstruction stuff. So whenever somebody tries to, like when people were structuring these indictments for Trump, everybody knew it was a really big deal. So people were pretty careful with the charges they did. That's why when people say for Jack Smith, and if you ever hear somebody bring up like, Trump, what about the Brandenburg? Like, that's retarded. Trump was never charged with inciting a riot. Like, incitement was never a formal charge that Trump is looking at on any of his federal cases as well. But people bring these up as like red herrings, but...
The archive.
Destiny, no, you're not on the subject, but wanted to recommend Einhat Wilf's The Right of Return to You. Her perspective is invaluable. Okay.
Available on a need-to-know basis to a minimum number of cleared employees. The archivists, who are certainly not cleared to see the stuff they'd just been handed, freaked out and contacted the Justice Department. And the DOJ turned its attention to getting back any missing government property, as well as investigating whether any national defense information had leaked out while Trump was storing special access program documents in his pool shed. The DOJ secured a grand jury subpoena demanding that Trump return anything in his possession that bore a classified marker. But Trump, who got elected in part because he'd accused Hillary Clinton of being careless with classified emails, didn't want to give that stuff back. So instead, he got his lawyer, Christina Bobb, to sign a certification saying that they'd searched Mar-a-Lago high and low, and they've turned all that stuff over. But that was a lie. According to the indictment, Trump sorted through the boxes and culled the documents he wanted to hang on to before his other attorney, Evan Corcoran, showed up to search the...
Is this mainly just going to be... I don't need a retelling of this case. I fucking went through this shit. Is the majority of this just a retelling of the case? I want to know what the judge did.
Premises. So when the
Why did Trump even want those classified documents just as a memento? I don't know. It's actually really fucking weird. Like the steel man is just that the steel man is that he just took stuff and he didn't know it was classified and he just held on to it. But the problem is that he showed some of it off. And another problem is that it seems like, I don't think stuff has been released in specifics, but it seems like he was directing Nauta to save certain boxes and give back other boxes, which makes it seem like there was stuff that he explicitly and specifically wanted to keep. That's really weird. At Destiny, red herring, or maybe, considering this was something even you just had to check, they just don't know? First of all, don't compare me checking to any of the retards you listen to, because I actually do check. They don't. Number two, I'm checking before I make the strong assertion. Keep in mind that what I'm checking here is something that I already did like a lot of reading on before. Number three, if somebody is asserting something confidently, then they should have already checked beforehand. So, fuck you on all three counts, okay? Bitch.
FBI knocked on the door with a warrant in August of 2022, they discovered thousands of government documents with some 300 of them bearing classification markings. Trump challenged that warrant in court and had the good fortune to land in front of Judge Cannon. She managed to engineer several months of delay before being brutally smacked down by the 11th Circuit in December of 2022. 7 months later, Trump was indicted for retaining and failing to deliver national defense documents under the Espionage Act, conspiracy to obstruct.
Also, I want to point this out because this is very important. And I'm going to do this beforehand in good faith, okay? So maybe I'll be wrong. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of shitty. I wish they wouldn't have done that. Notice that when Donald Trump and his ilk criticized the judge for being biased in his case up in New York, it's because of a daughter that wasn't even his daughter on Twitter saying things. It's because of supposedly his political actions or beliefs or prior things. Nothing has to do, or at least I haven't heard anything from them, about what's actually gone on with the case itself. So far, the criticisms of the judge in Florida generally are process focused. These are the things she's done. It seems like there's not a good reason to do these things, and they're slowing down the process. Now, if they spend the next 15 minutes of the video saying well, actually, she was at a Trump rally and you can see her here with her MAGA hat, I'll say oh, well, that's pretty shitty to do that. Notice that there's a big substantive difference in the level of criticism or the type of criticism wielded at people that liberals, I guess, claim are biased versus what conservatives say are biased, but...
Justice and making
all confidential, secret, and top secret info is need to know. When you get clearance, it will be in relation to a specific set of info. Having top secret doesn't mean can access lower classified stuff. Maybe I thought that was true, but I think the biggest issue that I've ran into is I've spoken to people with firsthand experience who have shown me that they have the exact same naked pictures of your mom that she sent me, and she said that they were secret pictures. So I don't know if they're also of the same level of classification as I am, or if we all have access to the same types of Google Drives that your mom shares. But I don't understand if it's supposed to be compartmentalized how different people have the same shit.
Trump was indicted for delay before being brutally smacked down by the 11th Circuit in December of 2022. 7 months later, Trump was indicted for retaining and failing to deliver national defense documents under the Espionage Act, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and making false statements. Once again, he landed back in front of Judge Cannon. The presence of classified evidence was always going to add an extra layer of complication. And some of the earliest signs that this case was going to go off the rails involved that classified evidence. One of the first things that happened in this case was that the government moved for a protective order governing the classified discovery materials. Trump objected to being forced to examine and discuss classified documents in a sensitive compartmented information facility, aka a SCIF. The guy who famously blabbed about a North Korean missile launch on the Lanai at Mar-a-Lago with the Prime Minister of Japan did not want to have to travel to a secure facility as is required by law. Instead, he wanted the court's permission to keep that stuff with him at Mar-a-Lago or possibly at his club in Bedminster, New Jersey. His lawyers argued that the protections afforded to our nation's leaders...
I see all the arguments for him committing a crime, but where's your argument against them weaponizing the justice system to prevent Trump from running again? I don't know what the name of this logical fallacy is. I mean, you can call it Occam's razor, but there's got to be a better name. But there's a weird thing that happens where you have a phenomenon and it's fully and completely explained by this phenomenon, but somebody's well, what if it was caused by this phenomenon? If Trump did a bad and he's being held accountable for the bad, and you're but what if they're really doing it because they're just trying to weaponize justice? Well, I don't even know how I could check for this because he did do these things. If he broke the law in an incredibly obvious way, and then he got caught breaking the law in an incredibly obvious way, and he's being held accountable for breaking the law in an incredibly obvious way, well, what is the argument for them weaponizing the justice system against him? They don't need to weaponize it, right? You understand they don't need to weaponize the system against him. He's already weaponized it against himself by breaking the law in such a flagrant way.
that stuff with him at Mar-a-Lago or possibly at his club in Bedminster, New Jersey. His lawyers argue that the protections afforded to our nation's leaders after they leave office and the uniqueness of the location of President Trump's residence meant that their client, who is charged with storing stolen government documents in his country club shower, should be trusted to store classified evidence at his country club. Just not in the shower. Unless the shower...
Dumb, unrelated question. Could I theoretically make a Freedom of Information or a Freedom of Info Act request to learn classified info, or is that process only for non-classified info? I think when you make a FOIA request, I think that there's a whole process they go by through which what they can release and what has to remain classified. Sometimes they'll release stuff with redacted shit. I don't know what that process looks like.
Shower is also a skip. At the same time, Trump's valet Walt Nauta demanded that he too should be allowed to see all the top secret evidence. Remember, Nauta and the groundskeeper Carlos de Oliveira are not charged.
The argument would be that the way he is being prosecuted is unique. If you can find examples of other people being prosecuted for similar charges, you refute the argument. But what if other people haven't done the same actions? That's not true. They're putting the positive argument out. So the onus is on them to show other people that have done similar actions that haven't been prosecuted. That should be the standard.
With violating the Espionage Act. Their defense does not rest on what was in the boxes. It could have been nuclear plans or souvenir White House cocktail napkins. It doesn't make any difference. They don't need access to those documents. And in fact, the Classified Information Procedures Act, better known as CIPA, allows the court to withhold classified evidence from defendants in the interest of national security. These issues are no-brainers, and yet Judge Cannon demanded full briefing and oral argument and then took 7 weeks to rule. She did eventually get it right. Trump was barred from perusing classified evidence on the golf cart between holes, and his henchmen won't be allowed to see the war plans their boss allegedly swiped from the White House. But it took the judge until September to figure it out. And that's not the only weird, slow thing she did here. CIPA Section 4 allows the government to request that the court withhold some classified evidence from the defendant in the interest of national security. The court holds a hearing ex parte in chambers, that is, the defendant doesn't get to be there. Because if the nature of the document were disclosed to the defendant, it would defeat the whole purpose of the law. After multiple hearings and hundreds of pages of briefing, Judge Cannon finally decided that Trump could not attend the Section 4 hearing. But by then, it was February 28th, and the original October 17 hearing date was deep in the rearview mirror. The judge played a similar game with respect to CIPA Section 5, which obligates defendants to declare what classified evidence they intend to use at trial. That deadline was originally set for November 17 of 2023. But on November 10, Judge Cannon took it off the calendar and even blamed the special counsel for gumming up the works by spending so much time arguing about CIPA Section 4.
Wait, Trump goes to jail if you get a 960. All right, here we go. To destroy the country and save the country at the same time. Hold on. Whew. We've never done a 960 under pressure before. All right. Whew. Let's go. Let's go for America. Okay. Okay. Fuck that. He walks. We failed.
And the issue of the skiff. She also yelled at the prosecutors for not building a skiff near her courtroom in Fort Pierce, Florida, before filing the indictment. An indictment which could well have landed in another courthouse entirely. She put the issue off until March, at which point it was clear there was no way for this trial to go forward on May 20th. But Judge Cannon didn't cancel it officially until the first week of May, which looks an awful lot like squatting on the calendar to block anyone else from scheduling a Trump trial during that period. In April, the judge finally set a new date of May 9 for Trump to turn in his Section 5 homework, after which Trump's lawyers immediately asked for another postponement, complaining that they were far too busy with his New York criminal trial to meet their obligations in Florida, even with the 6-month delay they'd already wrangled from the court. They complained that the May 9 deadline would deny President Trump his constitutional right to participate in critical aspects of his defense and infringe on his constitutional right to counsel of his choice in this case. The government noted that it was Trump's choice to hire the same lawyers to represent him in multiple overlapping criminal cases, and if those lawyers overcommitted themselves, that was hardly the court's problem. But Judge Cannon didn't see it like that, and so she moved the Section 5 deadline yet again, this time to June 17th, unless that date turns out to be inconvenient for the guy who appointed her to the bench, in which case, YOLO.
Now, sorry to interject, but if you took a bunch of national security documents from the White House, you'll want a good lawyer. But if you want a great lawyer, my law firm...
I was going to say, draft up your defense at LegalZoom.com. But that's okay.
Legal team can help. If your loved one is suffering from mesothelioma, because asbestos exposure can take decades, if you've suffered from a data breach, especially if you got one of those data breach letters, or were involved in a car crash or just about anything else, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney. It's so important to talk to a lawyer early in the process so that you maximize your recovery and you maximize your options. So just call the number that's on screen or click on the link in the description for a free consultation with my team. Because you understand the legal team, you need the Eagle team. The link is down below.
Judge Cannon claims that she has no choice but to postpone this trial because there are at least 8 substantive motions which have yet to be resolved. But she fails to mention that they're not resolved because she herself has yet to resolve them. Back in February, Trump filed a motion to dismiss based on presidential immunity. This one has the potential to derail the case indefinitely, since Trump will be entitled to an immediate appeal if the court denies it. That's why Trump isn't on trial in D.C. right now for election interference, because when Judge Tanya Chutkan denied his motion to dismiss that case, he got an automatic stay while he appealed the immunity decision to the D.C. Circuit Court and then to the Supreme Court. But that case actually involves stuff that happened in D.C. while Trump was president. How could hiding government documents in the shower of his private club in Florida years after he left the White House be part of his official duties? Well, Trump's theory is that he designated a bunch of classified documents as personal before leaving office, and that this designation was part of his official presidential duties. The problem is that Trump only started making this claim in 2023 after the Mar-a-Lago raid. In fact, in 2022, he called those documents presidential records in his own public statements, and so did his lawyers. But in 2023, Trump's pal Tom Fitton, head of the conservative lobby group Judicial Watch, told him that he never had to give anything back to the government if he called it a personal record.
No one but the president gets to pick what's presidential records. No one but the president gets to pick what are personal records.
Wow.
Fitton is not a lawyer, but his shop once sued the National Archives to make the agency go seize audio tapes Bill Clinton made for his biographer. Judge Amy Berman Jackson, a trial judge in D.C., said that she had no authority to force the archives to do that, from which Fitton inferred that the president's decisions about record retention are unreviewable by any court.
We can't come in there and manage his day-to-day operations. We can try to make sure that certain records that are created on behalf of the American people that document his activities officially are kept, a la the Federal Records Act. But we can't come in and say, oh no, you should have kept that one as a presidential record, and you can't have that one as a personal record, because that gets too much into the heart of the operations of the White House, which constitutionally is a separate branch of government. But they've blown all that up right now by pretending they can go in and raid his home based on this very dispute. Unbelievable.
Compelling. Trump made similar arguments in a motion to dismiss under the Presidential Records Act, claiming that the PRA conferred unreviewable discretion on him to designate the records at issue as personal. As such, President Trump's possession of those records was not unauthorized. As the special counsel points out, that would mean that a departing president could unilaterally convert classified government records containing the nation's most closely guarded military, diplomatic, and national security secrets into his private possessions, and then disclose those secrets to a foreign adversary, post them on the internet, or sell them to the highest bidder. By that logic, Trump could simply declare the entire National Security Archive a personal record, walk out of the White House with it, and sell it to Vladimir Putin, and there would be nothing anybody could do about it. Or he could not declare it a personal record.
It's not even like the thought experiments are immediately defeating this like weird classified argument that conservatives make. It's like not even a real. I can't even believe that people like make it. It's just like so stupid. It like there's like a million thought experiments that would immediately defeat like the psychic declassification and the it's my personal shit. Like
He could just steal it and say that the theft itself qualified as designating something a personal record under the PRA. In fact, Trump's lawyers made this exact declassification by theft claim at the 11th Circuit, where they argued that because the records were not provided to the archives at the end of his presidency, the seized records are presumptively personal. Under this reading, the FBI lacked any authority to direct the seizure of President Trump's personal property, and the warrant should be tossed out. Trump repeated this claim to CNN's Caitlin Collins in February.
We have the Presidential Records Act. I was there, and I took what I took, and it gets declassified.
That simply cannot be right. The Presidential Records Act was passed to ensure that Richard Nixon could not destroy evidence of crimes associated with the Watergate scandal. The law would be meaningless if Nixon could have gotten around it simply by saying, "Oh, this is my personal property." The 11th Circuit explicitly rejected this argument back in 2022 when it ruled that Trump could not challenge the search warrant because he had no possessory interest in the documents at issue, so he did not suffer a cognizable harm if the government reviewed the documents he neither owns nor has a personal interest in. But Judge Cannon seems alarmingly receptive to the claim that Trump magically transformed the government documents into personal records by tossing them in his luggage on the way out the door and stashing them in his pool shed. In March, she spontaneously directed the parties to draft instructions for the jury, which presuppose that the president has sole authority to decide which records are personal and which are presidential, and that no court can review that decision. Worse, she ordered them to work from the premise that an outgoing president's decision to exclude what he or she considers to be personal records from presidential records transmitted to the National Archives constitutes a president's categorization of those records as personal under the PRA. So under this theory, the act of swiping government documents, no matter how sensitive, would automatically convert them to personal records. The special counsel's office hit the roof, since that would be functionally an instruction to the jury to acquit. Jack Smith demanded that the judge say well in advance of the trial whether she intends to use this crazy jury instruction so that he'll have time to seek emergency review by the 11th Circuit. Because once the jury is sworn in, jeopardy attaches, and it will be too late to appeal. Trump will not be tried again. Judge Cannon was indignant at the unprecedented and unjust request that she rule on the issue she herself had posed, and she still hasn't ruled on it. She just threw it on the pile of wrenches to throw in the works at a later date. In fact, there are any number of wrenches the judge is keeping in her back pocket here. Do judges' robes even have pockets? In February, Trump filed motions to dismiss on grounds of presidential immunity, unconstitutional vagueness, the Presidential Records Act, selective and vindictive prosecution, the illegal appointment of the special counsel, and for prosecutorial misconduct and due process violations. He also filed a motion to compel a mountain of discovery from the government on the theory that the entire executive branch is part of the prosecutorial team, and thus he's entitled to go digging around.
Maybe Trump would have an argument if he first responded with, "I declassified all documents on my possession" when they asked for them instead of trying to hide them. Yeah, the problem is that like there are just so many actions that show like such an obvious criminal intent. That there's just no shot. I wonder what no, I don't know. Yeah, but there's just like so many. I was going to say, I wonder if you can ever be prosecuted for, if you think you're breaking the law, if you're not actually breaking the law, but you can be if you're like, if you like offer to sell. No, wait, hold on. I'm trying to think. If you offer to buy weapons to like commit a terrorist attack and it's an FBI agent, even if you're not actually buying the weapons, you can be held, but it's because you're not actually buying the weapons. The crime is making the offer to buy them, right? Not actually procuring them. It's making the offer or something. Maybe there's like a way around that, but.
In internal White House communications.
Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Do you think that all the Trump shills are super well read and informed about the nature of all the cases he's accused of? No, absolutely not. Most people, even content creators, haven't read the indictments. Yeah.
Nauta and De Oliveira have filed several motions of their own. So far, Judge Cannon denied Trump's motions to dismiss under the PRA and for vagueness. But that leaves a whole lot of motions undecided. And each of those motions has the potential to derail this case entirely. For instance, the motion to dismiss on the basis of presidential immunity can be appealed immediately. That's how the D.C. election interference prosecution got hung up, because Trump lost his motion to dismiss on immunity and appealed to the D.C. Circuit, which had the effect of freezing his case. And it's still frozen as we await a ruling from the Supreme Court. So if and when Judge Cannon denies Trump's immunity motion in the documents case, he will run exactly the same play here. In the meantime, the judge has scheduled a June 21 hearing on Trump's motion to dismiss the indictment based on the unlawful appointment and funding of the special counsel. This is a long-shot effort premised on the theory that special counsels are illegal because they aren't confirmed by the Senate. In fact, Title 28 of the U.S. Code, Section 515, refers to any attorney specially appointed by the Attorney General under law who is empowered to conduct any kind of legal proceeding, civil or criminal, including grand jury proceedings. And the Code of Federal Regulations authorizes the AG to appoint a special counsel when an investigation or prosecution would present a conflict of interest for the Department of Justice. Nevertheless, Judge Cannon is not only holding a hearing, she has invited outside parties to file amicus briefs and even to make oral arguments on that motion.
Wait, what? A trial judge is inviting oral arguments from amici at a motions hearing? That's crazy.
I know. As for the motions to dismiss for selective and vindictive prosecution, well, both of those are hard to prove as a matter of law. Selective prosecution is when the government singles you out for worse treatment than people similarly situated to you. And vindictive prosecution is when the government charges you to punish you for exercising a legal right. Trump's theory is that President Biden is vindictively unleashing the Justice Department on him to punish him for running for office. He claims that Biden subliminally instructed Attorney General Merrick Garland by leaking to the New York Times his secret wish that Trump would be indicted. In fact, the Times reported that in late 2021, long before Trump was a candidate, Biden confided to his inner circle that he thought Trump should be prosecuted. But Biden never communicated his frustrations directly to Mr. Garland. To prove selective prosecution, Trump points to a long list of comparators who mishandled classified documents and were never charged. That list includes Joe Biden, Mike Pence, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, and even Trump's own COVID response coordinator, Dr. Deborah Birx. Exactly none of these former officials refused to return documents for months, let alone to fight a grand jury subpoena. And yet, Judge Cannon seems extremely receptive to this argument. So receptive, in fact, that she's not even calendaring a hearing on that motion at all. Instead, she's holding a 3-day hearing beginning June 24 to allow Trump to argue that he should be able to compel discovery so he can go rooting around for evidence that President Biden is secretly controlling the prosecution. And then he'll get another round of briefing and another hearing, and another round of briefing and another hearing, and another round of briefing and another hearing, and another round of briefing. And on and on and on and on. To be clear, lots of judges take a long time to rule on motions. It's not that weird. But lots of judges are not presiding over a case with national security implications in the lead up to an election. And Trump's allies certainly perceive Judge Cannon as friendly to their cause. Rolling Stone's Aswan Subsang and Adam Ronsley reported recently that Cannon's delays in legal reasoning have become something of a running joke among the upper crust of Trump world, with various political advisors and campaign staff, lawyers and media figures in the ex-president's orbit remarking on how obviously and helpfully Cannon has been in the tank for Trump. His advisors call her my favorite member of the Trump campaign and a godsend. Whether Judge Cannon is sent by God or someone else, she'll rule on all those motions when she gets to it, and not a moment sooner.
So there you have it. We can put this case, reputed to be the strongest against the former president, to bed at least until after the election. Unless, of course, he wins, then it just goes away. But if that makes you want to run and hide, today's sponsor, Incogni, can help. Because Incogni is my favorite tool to help with online privacy, in case you've ever said anything unkind about the dear leader and are worried about reprisals. Incogni removes your online personal data from data brokers. Data brokers sell your info to the highest bidder, resulting in loss of privacy, phone calls, text, spam, emails, and much, much worse. But Incogni will reach out to these data brokers and make them take your personal info down. If these brokers...
I don't understand how Cannon can even hear this case, given that Trump appointed her. It seems like a ridiculous conflict of interest. It's a federal judge. Federal judges have a very, very high bar of recusal. Just because somebody appointed you doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to rule fairly against them. It's not like you're relying on them for any more political goodwill or political appointments, right? I think the bar for recusal for a federal judge is very, 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 very high.
Privacy, phone calls, text, spam, emails, and much, much worse. But Incogni will reach out to these data brokers and make them take your personal info down. If these brokers fight back, which I've seen them do, Incogni will take care of that too. It's a great way to cut down on those annoying scam calls and emails that used to flood my voicemail and inbox. Now, we've all Googled ourselves, it's okay to admit it, but you might have seen that there are websites out there that have tons of info on you. These sites can provide in-depth records including information such as home addresses, contact details, license plate numbers, and financial information. And these sites can expose you to a wide range of dangers, from scams and identity theft to online harassment and stalking. Every year, both the number and scope of data breaches worldwide are rising. And according to the 2022 annual data breach report by the Identity Theft Resource Center, the number of victims has gone up nearly 41.5%.
You brain broke them. The twins barely tweet out your episode, and AF nerds are in the replies, shit talking you and begging for an episode with Nick. Oh, I think Nick already shot an episode with those two, but yeah, the Fuentes people are obsessed with me.
From 2021. But Incogni gets that information down and out of the hands of scammers and identity. All you have to do is give them approval to work on your behalf, and Incogni conducts repeated, ongoing removals, because even if a broker removes your data once, they can collect it again. And Incogni makes sure that...
Does it affect your position that judges behave in an impartial manner, regardless of who appointed them or the politics for this judge? I don't know why Judge Cannon is doing what she's doing. It could be that she is genuinely really fucking worried about how this case goes, and she is trying to delay it so that the election happens, and then she doesn't have to rule on it. It could be that she's politically partisan. It could be that she thinks this case... I don't know. There could be a million things. I don't know anything about her background or anything. I don't know if it has anything to do with her partiality or not. I have no idea.
That your personal information stays off the market for good. When I signed up, it was fascinating for me to look at my own dashboard and see that I was on hundreds of data brokers' lists. So I guess it was no surprise why my email inbox was full of junk and my phone was constantly ringing with scam calls. Here's my own Incogni dashboard. It shows that these 3 sites potentially had data on me that was rated 10 out of 10 on Incogni's sensitivity scale. These brokers might have had data including my contacts, financial information, and health data. But it's seriously relieving to watch Incogni get them to delete that info one by one. So if online privacy is important to you, give Incogni a try. You can click on the link below to get 60% off of Incogni when you use the code LegalEagle. So get an exclusive 60% off discount by just clicking on the link that's on screen right now or down in the description and use the code LegalEagle. After that, click on this link over here for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you in court.
Am I going to watch the Hodgetwins thing? It's like a 3-hour thing. That's going to be like a whole day to get through. Do I want to spend the rest of my day just watching a video that a conversation I already had? Somebody donated earlier. Hey, Destiny, can you describe both capitalism and socialism? To my understanding, you need both to have a successful economy. Capitalism for the economy and socialism for welfare plus social security net. In common speak, capitalism is just like private businesses and not the government running everything, and like free markets. And socialism is like when the government does welfare and like taxes, I guess. I don't know. Contemporary socialism and capitalism don't really mean anything anymore. They're retarded words that people use when they want to usually attack things. They're supposed to refer to, I believe, there's 2 different things that they refer to. Capitalism and socialism should both inherently refer to who owns who can own a firm, basically. So in a capitalistic, in a capitalist economy, a private individual, non-government affiliated, can spend money to buy capital, and then he can hire workers to come in and work on it, and then he can collect money from that. Technically, that's all capitalism is that private owner who's not a worker, private owner buys something, invests in something, has an ownership in something that other people come in and work, and then he makes money off of that through profit. That's a private owner. In socialism, the means of production, the capital, is jointly owned by the workers. There are no private owners. There are no people that own and make profit off of the capital or the capital being worked that aren't owners or that aren't also workers of the capital. Technically, that's what socialism and capitalism mean. But like nobody actually uses the real definition anymore. Usually when people say socialism and capitalism, they're just they just mean retarded shit. It's just dumb.
Christ, I'm not ready for that.
Oh, it's a premiere. Nice. I got the rainbow flag and everything.
But hold on, wait, to be clear.
They said it was going to take. They said it was going to be like about an hour and a half, and we ended up chatting for 3 hours.
For COVID, you got the virus, SARS-CoV-2. We'll look at like a vaccine.
We can watch a segment of this. Man, these guys are really. They're funny. They seem funny. They are funny. They seem cool, but they're very much like into the conservative. Did you feel out of your depth in this combo? No. What do you mean? These are like all of these types of combos are usually very service level.
I was like late 20s. I was like, oh, why not try it? Fuck it. Really? Sure, why not? Low jobs are people fucking. I've never gone down like the crazy.
Oh yeah. Okay, give it time.
Give it time. I mean, I'm 35. I feel like if it was gonna happen, it would have happened by this.
Oh, this is like their anti-porn part. If you watch porn, you're gonna get obsessed with weird shit.
No, it's gonna hit you when you least expect it.
Okay. Yeah.
I went down some. Because see, porn, that shit puts a tumor in your brain, and then it metastasizes and goes to your. And it fucking like, man. I remember I came across the scene of a chick doing a dog. I was like, oh, this is hot. I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on?
Was this before or after you finished?
No, stop myself.
I feel like you can say the same for like any hobby. Like I think that you can jerk off to porn responsibly, or you can go crazy with it. But I think that's true like anything, right? Like you look at a video game, you can play a video game for an hour, or you've got people who lose their entire fucking lives to games, like sitting up all day. You can smoke some weed every now and then to relax, or hang out with friends, or you could be a guy that has to smoke every single fucking day because of anxiety or just sleep or whatever. So hobbies are good servants but bad masters. And too many people let their hobbies run their lives or whatever they get obsessed with.
That's true. You got to take accountability and be responsible for your own actions. Too much porn can. Yeah. You know what saved me? What? Christ.
Yeah.
He put his hands on me. I looked up, then I saw his blue eyes looking at me. He said, "Thou shalt not stroke thy dick of any more." I was free.
Jesus.
Blue-eyed Jesus. There's blowing blue eyes.
Moses left that commandment up on the mountain. That was the 11th one. God wasn't done inscribing yet.
Yeah. Yeah, porn, I had to give that up. Yeah.
I think if you could do without it, it's probably good. But I think that's almost true of any kind of like vice-ish thing. Yeah. Like if you didn't play any games, it'd probably be better for you. If you didn't do any drugs, it'd probably be better for you. If you never drank alcohol, it'd be better for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, balance it out.
Well, it all depends on the person, really. Some people, alcohol could be done recreational, and some people, it just turns into an addiction. Yeah. It all depends on the person, really.
I think the thing that frustrates me the most about talks about like bad vices, like porn or drugs, is people never talk about like how to use them responsibly. People take a zero-sum approach. Yeah. So if you walk around, it's like, do you guys remember Dare? Dare, it was like the anti-drug shit. How old are you guys?
Oh yeah, Dare. Yeah, I'm old. I remember that.
Okay, yeah, it was a big. Yeah, I grew up until I was like 25.
Start it over. No, I'm not watching this whole thing. I don't feel like doing it. You can go watch it. I'm trying to hit I think there's like a 10-minute COVID section that's coming up.
If I smoke marijuana, my fucking dick would fall off. You just hear the dumbest shit. Yeah, I wish people just, rather than focusing on like, don't ever do this and don't ever do that, be like, this is what you should be aware of. And if this is happening, you probably need to slow down. You need to stop. Like, being aware of like signs of something's unhealthy rather than just like thinking some things are always good and some things are always bad, I think would be better.
True. Yeah, that's true. Very true.
People act like if you don't masturbate to porn for like 2 months, you could fucking levitate or something. It's kind of.
Especially the Christian conservatives.
Yeah,
that's a sin. You know, God's watching you when you bust your nuts.
And you know they're busted to the craziest shit too, because those guys are always looking at the wildest fucking shit, man.
The conservatives?
Oh yeah, they always are. You go to like the Mormon fucking states, you look at that's like the highest instance of gay porn and shit. I don't know why, but
hey, do you remember you know who Turning Point USA is, right?
Yeah, Charlie Kirk. Right?
Yeah, Charlie Kirk. They had a porn star actually attend one of their events. But she went there. She wasn't invited, but she decided to pay the money and fly in. They found out who she was and they kicked her out. I'm like, how did they find out who she was?
Every motherfucker. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah, and they kicked her out. That's the one thing. I don't believe in censorship, and us being conservatives, we don't like censorship, right? And then they do the exact same thing. Same thing that goes for Candace. What's kind of thing with the donors? They got donors. Yeah. And there's pictures. Money is the root of all evil. So. Yeah. But they call out the left when they do it, but they don't call it when they do it.
I think that like the problem is that I think people sometimes take hard stances on stuff, and the stance is not. They think they've got like a really hard stance on a thing, but in reality, there's just some factual thing they disagree with. So like nobody is a free speech.
Why do you assume the political position of someone just because they ask a question that could potentially be asked by someone of that position when taking an incredibly uncharitable position doesn't seem especially productive? Well, in a conversation, I'm generally like pretty good faith. I try to just like follow the conversation. But realistically, you and I both intuitively know there is no such thing as just asking questions. If I come up to you and I ask you what the inside of a baby's asshole feels like, you're never, ever going to look at me as though I'm simply asking because I'm curious. So, no, roll that bad faith bullshit the fuck out of here. Don't act like this, like, oh, they were just asking a question. Why would you make an assumption? Shut the fuck up, okay? They're not usually asking questions. Also, because when people come at you with a ton of loaded questions, like, you could have literally Googled this for 2 seconds. How have you been curious about this particular thing for 4 years, and you've never thought to just Google it? retarded.
Absolutely is, because as soon as you say like, oh, well, should you be able to post child porn? Like, it's like, okay, well, no, not that.
Right.
Oh, okay, should you be able to like post somebody's address and tell people to go kill them? Oh, okay, maybe not that. It's like, okay, so we're not like ultra free speech absolutists. There's like,
Yo, Des, new PF Junk League video just dropped about you. Yeah, we watched it. What is the tornado currency? To USD. What is this? $12. Oh, Indian rupees. It looks like a tornado from, I don't know, from like a Zelda game or some shit, or Castlevania.
there's some boundaries we have to draw. We just need to decide where to draw the boundaries. Same thing with like, as controversial as they are, like vaccine mandates, right? Like, I don't think anybody's actually opposed to vaccine mandates. If there was a disease that came out that lay dormant in your body and then caused you to die instantly in 2 weeks, and that had like a 80% mortality rate and infected everybody, I think everybody like, okay, you gotta get fucking
They'll be killing each
vaccinated.
other to get the vaccine.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
But if you've got a disease that like doesn't really affect people that much, it's a cold, and you're like, well, if you don't get this vaccine, you can get fucking fired. It's like, fuck you, I don't want to do this, yeah. But people act.
The final question I ask here and the answer I get blows my fucking mind. My mind is torn to shreds on this. Okay, I think it takes me like 30 minutes to even recover. Why does the DOJ have a policy that prevents them from indicting a sitting president with a felony? Is impeachment really the only way to hold the president accountable? I don't believe that there is no policy that says you can't indict a sitting president. I've never heard of that in my life. Some people theorize that might be the case, but the weird question is just that the DOJ works theoretically under the president. It's part of the executive branch. So can the executive branch indict its head? That's the weird question. But I don't believe there's a policy to not do it. Or if there is, somebody can point me to it. But
like on both sides, like I'm pro-vaccine mandate or anti-vaccine mandate. It's like, well, not really. You just disagree about this particular one of the facts of this thing. Yeah.
That's what it really boiled down to, because I'm not anti-vaccine, but I was opposed to that vaccine. Sure. It just came out too fast. It's like, no, you got to test it. Normally when a vaccine comes out, they test it for at least a decade. It's got to keep.
It's so hard not to fight on every. You have any idea how much restraint it takes to not fight on every single point when this conversation comes up?
Sure.
Is the video volume maxed out? Yep. And you complain about my volume being too quiet all the time, so now my mic is loud as fuck, and that's what it's supposed to be, because that's what you fucking retards need. And all the other videos that I watch are quiet as fuck. So fuck you. This is what you wanted, and this is what you got.
Not too fast. It's like, no, you got to test it. Normally when a vaccine comes out, they test it for at least a decade. It's got to keep you from getting sick. It's got to keep you from spreading it. Yeah. It's got to make you immunity. Yeah. That's what I would think. What was your take on that COVID vaccine?
I think that when people are looking at things like medicine, okay, here's something that's really important to understand about medicine. If you have a medication and then you've got like not anything happening, okay, it is always better to never take the medicine. All medicine is bad for you. Everything
has a side effect.
Yes. But the problem is people will compare taking the medicine to nothing happening, but you don't take medicine or nothing happens. You're trying to compare the medicine to the disease or whatever it is you're going to get. So people will look at like a vaccine or a particular pill or whatever, and they'll say, well, if you have this, it's this side effect and that side effect. It's like, okay, well, we're not comparing that to not taking it at all. Let's compare it to if you get the thing it's supposed to prevent. Well, what does that do? Right? I think that the challenging part for COVID, and a lot of people don't remember this, is nobody really knew what was going to happen at the time.
Yeah,
right?
first came.
Yeah, nobody. Is this going to be like a 2% mortality thing or 10% mortality thing? Like nobody had an idea, and it was super infectious. This thing spread faster than fucking like anything in the world in terms of like number of people that were impacted. Because it's a respiratory disease. It's not like you get it and your eyes are bleeding and everybody stays away from you. Like,
what the fuck? What? Good one. Good editing here.
nobody's getting fucking mass Ebola, okay, in the Western world because the motherfucker's walking looking like the Walking Dead. Okay, just get this guy the fuck away from me. Okay? You can see him coming. Yeah, exactly. Whereas some guy comes up to you and he's got like a sniffle in his nose. This guy might be infecting 30 people. You have no fucking idea. Yeah. So I think that I mean at the time I definitely understand the fear. You're trying to stay ahead of the unknown because you don't know exactly how things are going to play out. So in that sense, like I mean, it's hard to know what side to fall on. Like for this particular virus, even though a lot of people died and there was a lot of congestion in the healthcare system, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But like there's another world where where we took the same path and it ended up being something that had like a 25 or 30% mortality rate. Like well, fuck, we just like let off like 50 to 100 million people in this country, and then the worldwide stuff. So yeah, it's hard. Yeah, when you evaluate things, you have to be able to go back and then do it prospectively. Like what did we know at the time, rather than look back. It's like okay, well this is what we know now, and this is what we should have done with what we know now. And it's like well, nothing unfortunately works that way in life.
Yeah. That's just with that vaccine when it first came out. It's like it keeps you from getting sick.
Okay, apparently there was a memo that was released in 2000 from the Attorney General, a memo for the DOJ not to indict a sitting president. My guess is I haven't read this. I'm not going to. It's like fucking 100 pages. Or it's not 100 pages. Or it might be 100 pages. But my guess is probably for what I just said. Like indicting a president when you are the DOJ and the DOJ exists as the president is probably really weird. Yeah.
It keeps you from spreading it. And then I think it first started in Israel. They were the first to like fully vaccinate their population. Yeah. And then they were still getting sick. And I was like, wait a minute. Then they changed they moved the goalposts as well. You can still get sick and you can still transmit it, but you're less likely to die from it. I'm like, what am I supposed to believe? Yeah. Like they moved the goalposts at the end. And that's like, I don't think that vaccine personally, anecdotally, I don't think it was very effective. I mean, playing Monday morning quarterback, I think we should have just took care of the elderly, people with comorbidities.
Can you give a good argument why the DOJ having the ability to indict its head can be a negative? Well, because you end up in a weird world where, well, if the DOJ goes to indict me, I just say, no, actually, I'm going to tell you guys not to do that because I'm technically your boss. Well, then what do? It's a weird thing where there's like, okay, well, I guess we can't. That's the issue, right?
But I don't think they should have been forced on anyone. I think it was up to the person's choice. I mean, we give women a right to choose when it comes to pregnancy. Why don't we give them a right to choose when it comes to a vaccine?
Well, for the right to choose for the pregnancy is because she can't make me pregnant. If a woman was walking around saying some shit and all of a sudden people around her were getting pregnant, then we'd probably have a lot more of a different feeling about it, right? But a pregnancy is like your body, your thing.
Yeah, but that vaccine did not keep you from infecting other people. Yeah.
So
it had the same efficacy of a flu shot. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, flu shots help. It's not perfect, but I mean, it helps. The initial vaccines were really effective for the first and then the Delta, but then after that, they started to fall off pretty significantly because of how mutated the virus was getting. I think the goal of the vaccine initially, and if you go back and you read all the actual medical literature, it said this, but the public health messaging was messed up. The goal was twofold. One was to prevent you from getting sick, and then the other was hopefully, that was the goal. The goal was to prevent you from getting sick. Now, a byproduct of not getting sick is that you hopefully don't spread as much because you're not getting the, you're not contracting the virus, and then that's like a side effect you're looking for. A lot of things, a lot of it comes down to just information about diseases that people aren't aware of. So you can have like a virus, just because you get infected doesn't mean you necessarily get sick. Like a virus and a disease are technically, in the literature, there's different things, like HIV and AIDS, right? You can have HIV now your whole life and never develop AIDS because of the medical treatment and everything. For COVID, you've got the virus, SARS-CoV-2, right? You can get the virus, but if you've had like a prior infection or if you've got a vaccine, ideally you get the virus and it kind of like, fucks around a little bit, but then it dies before you actually get the disease and you get sick. Then you're not sick, you're not coughing, you're not spreading as much. But the spreading of the disease is not something that is usually tested for in vaccines. Like,
notice how I didn't address my previous super chat. Perfect example of bad faith. I'm assuming you're memeing. I don't even know what your previous super chat was. But okay, I love you.
Even for like polio and all these other vaccines, when you get them, you can still get the virus, but like your immune system will kill it before you actually like develop.
What? Bro, these edited in sources are wild. Oh my God.
Or in vaccines, like even for like polio and all these other vaccines, when you get them, you can still get the virus, but like your immune system will kill it before you actually like develop a full-blown sickness.
I understand.
Also, for this AP story, more polio cases now caused by the vaccine than by wild virus. I'm curious, are the polio cases as bad as the ones that would have been caused by the virus? Like, I'm curious what the link is to this article.
Your point of view, I think it's I think when it came to it got politicized. It got politicized, and then you have journalists that's a majority of I wouldn't say majority, a lot of the money they were receiving, from ads and things of that nature. It's a huge conflict of interest because these people who developed this vaccine made a lot of billionaires. But I can't go back to the empirical research where it actually saved people's lives.
Sure, this is the thing that I wish it would happen. It's so hard. Is that sometimes people.
What do you wish would happen, you fucking loser? More polio cases now caused by vaccine than the virus. On it, 4 African countries reported a new case of polio linked to the oral vaccine. As global health numbers are now show there are now more children being paralyzed by viruses originating in vaccines in the world. Okay, so this is being paralyzed by viruses originating in vaccine in the wild. Is this what are the overall numbers of? I mean, I guess we'll keep getting into it because so the theory would be, let's say there's 1 million people that get polio and they get paralyzed. Then let's say you start vaccinating the fuck out of everybody, and then it gets to the point where nobody's getting. There's like 100 people getting paralyzed from the wild cases, and then like 1,000 get paralyzed by the vaccines. That's still not bad. That's still a good thing, right? Because you're eliminating the wild shit. Unless there's like more people actually getting. Yeah, but I don't know what polio looks like in Africa, or what the prevalence is. In a report late last week, it's noted 9 new polio cases caused by the vaccine. Over in what time span? In a report late last week, the World Health Organization and partners noted 9 new polio cases caused by the vaccine in Nigeria, the Congo, the Central African Republic, and Angola. 7 countries elsewhere in Africa have similar outbreaks of cases have been reported in Asia. Of the 2 countries where polio remains endemic, Afghanistan and Pakistan, vaccine-linked cases, in Pakistan. In rare cases, the live virus and oral polio vaccine can mutate into a form capable of sparking new outbreaks. All the current vaccine-derived polio cases have been sparked by a type 2 virus contained in the vaccine. Type 2 wild virus was eliminated years ago. Polio is highly infectious disease, blah, blah, blah. I wonder what, has polio been eliminated from these countries then? Except for... Sounds like they need to use mRNA polio vaccines instead of the attenuated virus ones.
Will fuck up or say something dumb, but then instead of like critically evaluating what's going on, people just like jump to the other opinion, and then they don't do as much critical evaluation there, right? Like, let's say I wanted to sell you like TRT, and I come up here and I tell you that creatine causes baldness, right? It's a common claim, right? I imagine you're probably gonna look at me like, okay, well, yeah, you're selling this. Of course you want me to think this about, the most studied fucking supplement of all time, and you're going to tell me that it causes baldness or whatever. I don't know what you guys think about that. But I feel like, yeah, people look at the vaccine and they're like, okay, well, like, there are just so many things about me. People say, I don't trust the vaccine. It was pushed through too quickly, whatever. But monoclonal antibodies, people love those. That was an experimental treatment. It never got fully approved. It was way more expensive. But
I don't actually remember if that's true. Did the monoclonal antibody treatment ever get fully approved? For COVID? Or did those just fail after... Monoclonal antibodies, COVID treatment. Given the loss of vaccine, there are currently no monoclonal antibodies that are approved. Oh, it was so funny that conservatives said they didn't want experimental treatments, but they loved the antibodies. And they both had FDA emergency authorization use, the mRNA vaccines and the monoclonal antibodies. They loved those. So wild to me.
Because that was like the more popular treatment, people would shun the vaccines, which I think now in retrospect, I don't know how much I'm trying to go over, but like they're pretty safe. Like there wasn't the mass death event that everybody thought there was. Like in all the communities people got vaccinated, they were less likely to go.
Joe Rogan did them. He did. Yep, I remember. Yeah.
Hospital. Like you see more deaths in like communities that weren't vaccinated.
Oh, so in those cases, in those countries, the polio has been eradicated. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that. They're getting less than 5 cases per year. Country updates. What? Why would you make a website? I have to expand every single fucking... Really? Oh, and it's only one at a time? Never mind. I don't care. I don't care about polio or how many people are dying from it. I'm never using that website.
And you look at the monoclonal antibodies, and those completely fell out. They just weren't that effective. So
you think the vaccine was a good thing?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the saddest thing too is that, especially, and I feel so fucking crazy because I'm always like the progressive, like far left guy. I'm a big capitalist, and I appreciate like businesses and everything there. I feel like the sad thing for conservatives, I think the vaccine, in my opinion, like represented like conservatism, like almost at its best, because you had Donald Trump, who was a conservative leader, who like did the whole warp speed thing to try to like pre-buy and incentivize these companies. You had our large businesses that were working internationally with, like BioNTech in Germany, the manufacturer of the NLPs in Denmark or whatever. Like, so it's
What did they make those NLPs on? I need to remember the place. I thought it was in like some Scandinavian country. Nano lipid particle manufacturing. Fuck. Does anybody remember where these happened at? For mRNA vaccines. Large-scale mRNA production. Skip the sponsor. Oh, shit. I didn't even notice that. Whoa, what the fuck? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, how many... Is there a way to, like, buy Google? Can you, like, pay a monthly fee to not have sponsorship? Jesus. Oh, it's lipid nanoparticles. What was I saying? Nanolipid particles, NLPs, LNPs. I'm not even using... I don't even think that makes a difference. I don't know what the fuck it is. Have you seen the SALT conference video with Colonel Carl Nell that came out 2 days ago? Nope. I think he hits like every big meme. We've got I think we have ivermectin. I think we have the monoclonal antibodies. I think we get like, does he mention like a super shot of vitamin C, or am I just inventing that? Like,
Hello, friends. So I got back from the road Saturday night, feeling very weary. I had a headache, and I just felt just run down. And just to be cautious, I separated from my family, slept in a different part of the house, and throughout the night I got fevers and sweats, and I knew what was going on. So I got up in the morning, got tested, and it turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything. And I also got an NAD drip and a vitamin drip, and I did that 3 days in a row. And so here we are on Wednesday, and I feel great. I really only had one bad day. Sunday sucked, but Monday was better. Tuesday felt better than Monday, and today I feel good. I actually feel pretty fucking good. That's the good news. The bad news is we have to move the Friday show in Nashville. It's going to move to Sunday, October 24th. So that will be the new Nashville date. My apologies to everyone. Obviously, there's nothing that I can control. It is what it is. Crazy times we're living in.
Just so dumb. Whatever.
It's the United States like being a global power. It's the president like trying to incentivize something, push it through. It's like all this research from around the world creating like a vaccine in like record time. I feel like there's a lot of good accomplishments there that as Americans we could have been proud of, but it's like so.
Trump loves the vaccine.
Yeah, of course. Well, he wants to take credit for it because he war speeded. Yeah, but I feel like because we're so like politically divided, we can't like every single fucking issue that comes out today is fucking political. Like if you go to the gym, it's because you're fucking MAGA conservative. Like that's like a conservative thing now. Or like if a boat fucking crashes into.
What's wrong with this, Destiny? He got the advice of a doctor to do so. He got the advice of a doctor that he probably shopped to do so. The issue is that like I just think like if people want to be religious, I think it's fine. I think that religion offers a lot of good insight, or not insight. Religion gives you a lot of purpose that can be really hard to find otherwise, and it guides you in a lot of potentially positive ways. My issue with religion is when it starts impacting your real world decisions and you start making really big decisions based on like supernatural fairy dust. I think that can be really scary. And for politics has gotten so big that people are starting to make like financial and medical decisions based off their political background. Like you're never doing if you're like, yeah, a lot of people were just making decisions on medication based on like what their favorite political people were saying. And it's like, this is fucking retarded.
To a bridge just because some Mossad fucking agent did it to distract from fucking Israel, or there's a fucking fire in Hawaii in the fucking hottest place in the it's because like Jewish space lasers are trying to drive up property costs for Oprah Winfrey or whatever. But yeah, it's like Jesus, yeah, like nothing can happen anymore without it being some crazy fucking conspiracy.
Yeah, personally, I've had like people close to me that was like damaged by that vaccine. Like, my friend's legs turned purple; they look like sweet potatoes. He can't walk. And then I knew when I bought this car, right when the vaccine came out, the finance guy was doing my paperwork, and he was telling me, he was like warning me, like, don't take that vaccine. I was like, why? It's supposed to be great. He's like, well, my daughter took that vaccine, and the reason why she took the vaccine, she wanted to go to Europe for a vacation. COVID messed up everything, so she went in and had to take the vaccine so she could go. 2 weeks after she took the vaccine, she got a blood clot in her lungs and she died.
Yeah. The biggest red flag for me,
she's 22 years old.
Yeah, about that vaccine was it was forcing on people.
Like, I want to ask you, like, how do you know the vaccine caused the blood clot? But like, I don't think that lands with the audience. Like, it's already for them. Like, obviously, well, if you got a vaccine and then something bad happened, then clearly it was the like
who had already contracted the virus. Survived it, and he still was making people.
And they were forcing on people who were in great health. We all know, I think, what was it, 70-80% of the people that died was people over 65, and they had something wrong with them. They already had one foot in the grave.
Well, careful, because when you say something wrong with them, like obesity is a comorbidity of, which is already like
70% of people. I think it was even higher, maybe 8%. 80% of the people died from. It might have been 90% that when they died from COVID, they was over 65, or they had one foot in the grave. They were obese, they had heart problems or something. But it was forced on healthy people. And I was like, one of my friends, that girl, they died at 22. That's why I think that vaccine was garbage.
Do you know anybody that died of COVID?
Yeah, my family members on my wife's side.
How many?
3.
Jesus. So when you think of like you've got vaccine injury, did you know anybody that died of or had a vaccine injury?
I know of 2 people. I didn't know them personally.
Okay.
But Mike. Yeah. I didn't count him. You already counted him. Okay. But 2 other people.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That doesn't factor in sometimes. Like somebody's like, oh yeah, like I knew this guy or I knew a guy who had a vaccine injury. Like, oh, you know anybody who died of COVID? And like, yeah, I got like 3 family members.
Yeah, I know 3 people died.
Yeah, but they were like the 2 that I know in my family that died. They were big people. They were obese. They were not healthy people.
Sure, but I mean, like,
I don't even know if these messages are real. I was more concerned about mRNA transferring memories like it did in experiments with worms and rats. That's not a real comment, right?
They still
they got vaccinated and everything. They still died.
Yeah, and I look at like the vaccine injuries. My friend, he's very young. That person who was at the dealership, she was a healthy young woman. She was supposed to take a vaccination, or she couldn't travel. I have a problem with that person.
Yeah. Like I think it was a big cover up. Like I remember when COVID first hit, they was tracking the deaths by the hour. I mean, up to date, all across America. You know how many people died in America. Why didn't they track the deaths of the people who was getting vaccinated, who still died from COVID, who took the vaccine? They didn't track that. I remember when Australia first started doing the vaccine with their citizens, they were coming out saying we had 8 people die today, 6 of them are vaccinated. They did that for a couple of days and then they stopped.
Yeah. What do you think? If it was a cover up, like what? How? Why? Like I'm trying to think. Like let's say
money.
Yeah, but like doesn't it hurt the economy and everything more to have like lockdowns and vaccines and everything than just?
I think that was a wrong decision. You can't hide from the virus.
But I'm saying we're talking like all the. So here's something that's always interesting me. People say things like Lockheed Martin or Boeing, like the military industrial complex, they like run the country. Okay, if you only look these companies up, these companies are worth anywhere from like 10 to 100 billion dollars. Okay, decent sized companies. But then I'm thinking like, well, if we're like running the economy, why would the military industrial complex do things that puts the entire economy like on pause that hurts everybody? So like wars or conflict or whatever. Why wouldn't it be the people that own like fucking Apple and Facebook? Because these companies are worth like Apple alone is worth like every fucking private military contractor combined. Like, wouldn't they be the ones that control the country? Wouldn't it be more like the U.S. is like, I want to go to war with that, and like Lockheed and Boeing and Raytheon, these guys are like, yeah, let's go. And then like Apple is like, we're not doing that. Actually, fuck you. I will hire an actual Haitian death squad to kill you. If you
I think it's a different dynamic.
Okay. I think the reason why that information was not allowed to come out, who's going to put that information out there?
Donald Trump.
It's going to be the media. The media is being paid hundreds of millions of dollars to push this vaccine.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
If they're going to come out and criticize the vaccine, they're hurting.
How much money does Apple spend in advertising? Apple advertising budget 2023. Apple, which spent 2/3 of its colossal $775 million US display ad budget for 2023. Well, I don't know what is this sentence? In that sense, Samsung is similar to its fiercest rival in the global smartphone market, Apple, which spent 2/3 of its colossal $775 million US display ad budget for 2023 on YouTube ads, which spent 2/3 of its ad budget Oh, so this is the U.S. ad budget. It spent $775 million in 2023 in advertising in the United States. Okay.
Advertisers. There's no way Fox News, CNN, left or right, gonna come out and criticize that vaccine because you're biting the hand that feeds you. Yeah. Even if I post stuff on Instagram or YouTube, I was getting censored. I was getting community guidelines.
Pfizer advertising budget 2023. Pfizer spent $3.7 billion in advertising expenses. Jesus. The fuck do they spend all that money on? Hold up. What is Apple's total advertising budget? Apple total advertising budget 2023. Why is Apple always your top example when Walmart makes almost double? Isn't Apple the largest market cap tech company? It says Apple spends $775 billion or $775 million for their Macs. Or wait, I don't know what display advertisers means. I don't know what the fuck this means. Digital advertising showed no signs of slowing in 2023, with global spending reaching an estimated $423.3 billion. We analyzed exclusive AdBeat data to identify the 10 biggest display advertisers in the U.S. So is this just one part of their advertising? Don't they just not need to advertise much? I feel like Apple advertises a ton. So this shows Apple at rank 1, State Farm at rank 2, Verizon at rank 3, Amazon 4, Walmart 5. Walmart spent $4.4 billion in 2023. So is display spend? Oh, so is this just spend for Adobe? Why the fuck does Adobe spend $392 million in fucking advertising? Display is for digital devices and displays. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, okay. Wendy. What the f? Oh, it's for screens or whatever. Okay. How do I find total advertising budgets? Total advertising spend 2023. Largest firms, America. This says that Pfizer spent $3.7 billion in advertising expenses in 2023. Why doesn't this one list Pfizer at all? Top ad spenders in the US in 2023. In a world of marketing and advertising, understanding where the big players are investing their money can provide valuable insights for understanding advertising spend. Top ad spenders in the US in 2023. Comcast. Oh, Procter & Gamble. Oh, wait a second. Is that with Publicis Council? Pfizer is global spend? Oh, maybe that's the difference? Top global spend advertising 2023. Global ad expenditures 2022. What? Thank you for this. That's what I needed to see. Thank you. Top 20 categories by ad spend for 2023 revealed in the latest Nielsen ad report. Fuck you, I'm rejecting all your cookies. Too many cookies are pissing me off. Retail topped the list with a combined spend for 2023 of $2.56 billion. What? I don't understand any. Am I just fucking retarded? Do I just not understand any of the top 20 Australian ad category? They use your cookies for rocket fuel? Based. What was Pfizer's total revenue 2023? $58.5 billion. 10%. That's revenue. What is the profit? Total profit 2023. Don't they have to disclose this shit? Pfizer reported $7.58 billion in gross profit on sales for its quarter ending in for a quarter. That means it's not a decline in revenues of $58.5 billion. They spent $109 million on TV. What are these guys measuring? The account value on it's the biggest account move of 2023, which I previously worked with several agencies globally, including. Somebody find me. I'm curious. Somebody find me I just want to see what are the top. Find me a source that shows the top advertising spend worldwide. I'm just curious. I would be shocked. I'd be pretty surprised if Pfizer spends more in advertising than Apple. Unless it might be that Pfizer has a ton of other products that I'm not aware of. I don't know how much, I guess, pharmaceutically they advertise in. But also, when you talk about global spend for advertising for pharmaceuticals, isn't the United States the only place you can advertise medicine? Can you even do ads in Europe for other stuff? Hold on, let me use a restroom 1 second.
Our judge is literally fucking stupid. We're going to say.
The same judge residing over this case is also the one residing over the defamation case for Nick Rekieta. Is that true? Also, wait, what is this? Is this a Chris Chan reference?
And Jennifer Fisher, Chief Judge of Wilmer, Minnesota, Candiota County, is touched, not by an angel. Our judge is literally fucking stupid.
Oh, geez.